this next political news story is affecting my family. I saw my little nephew, AT2, talking about this story. And I'm chopping onions and I'm in the kitchen cooking and listening to this story. And I was like, no, she didn't. And it just was not connecting. And so I just got off the phone. Well, not just got off the phone. I got off the phone with my mom earlier this morning. And she was enlightening me on this same story. Debbie Wasserman Shultz. Bitch, you have got to be kidding me. Debbie Wasserman Shultz, she at one point was over the DNC. She got into some trouble. This was back in 2016. She got into some trouble 2014, 2015, 2016. She got in some trouble because she was being accused of messing around with Bernie Sanders' campaign in order to uplift Hillary Clinton. She was booted out. I believe she was booted out. And she ran for office down in Florida for Senate. She won. And so she's been holding that seat all of this time. And now she's wrapped up in another controversy. We know how Florida moved to gerrymander the state, and that's tied to the decision from the Supreme Court regarding the Voting Rights Act, which has allowed these southern red states to move to redraw maps, which is what Florida did. And what Ron DeSantis did was, in redrawing the maps, it split up the district that Debbie Wasserman Shultz represents. So she had to find a new district to run so she can maintain her status in Congress, right? I think AT2 called her a career congressman, and that's about right, or a career politician, and that's about right. So instead of running for one of these districts that best represents her constituents, she don't want to fight for one of those districts. What she has decided to do, she has decided to run in a district that represents Black people. This district has been represented by a Black person for decades. This district is the only district that would have Black representation. Remember, I told you they gutted the Voting Rights Act, and in doing so, it does not take away the voting rights of Black people. It does water down the Black representation for Black people. And Debbie Wasserman Shultz's ass has decided to take her white ass to the one Black district which would have Black representation, and she has decided to run for Senate in that district. If she wins, it would effectively wipe out Black representation in the state of Florida. There's other districts where Black people are running, but this was a safe district for Black representation. And Debbie Wasserman Shultz is jeopardizing that. This district is the district that my mother and the rest of my family is in. Debbie Wasserman Shultz didn't stop there. She's receiving a ton of backlash for this move because she can run for office in other districts. But this is the easiest one. Why? Because there's not a lot of funding going towards these other black representatives who are running for this district. Debbie Wasserman Shultz is sitting on a chest of $2.5 million, I believe I saw. She can easily outspend the other candidates who are running for that seat. She doesn't stop there. Because of the backlash that she's getting, she's asked if the Congressional Black Caucus gave her the blessing to run for that seat. She lied and said that she has spoken with members of the Congressional Black Caucus and none of them have spoken to her about not running for that seat. She's also said that Hakeem Jeffries has encouraged her to run for that seat. One of the representatives from the Congressional Black Caucus has come out and said, baby, we did not encourage you to run for that seat.
I don't know if you heard my conversation with the senior leader of the Florida Democratic Party before the break about Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, her decision to move from the 25th district to now run in the 20th district, which for more than 30 years has been represented by a black member of Congress. And he says his group condemns her decision to run there. Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz said that she consulted with the CBC about that decision to run. Here's what she said.
No, none of them asked me not to run. What the leadership, what Hakeem Jeffries and my CBC colleagues told me is that, they know I know our community, and Leader Jeffries trusts Democrats to be able to know our communities well enough to have reached out, done the important outreach necessary to be able to make the decisions that we need to be able to make on how we can most effectively represent our community.
Did you personally encourage Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz to run in the 20th?
Well, let me say this. We had a conversation. Encouragement was not part of that conversation. I was essentially informed that Debbie wanted to run in this seat. Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz wanted to run in this seat. She has every right to decide where she runs. And this is part of the crisis that we're facing as part of the as the Congressional Black Caucus, as mid-decade redistricting takes place, is that seasoned members of the Florida delegation are now being displaced as a result of what the governor there has done in the state legislature.
Yeah.
There are valid reasons that the people, black folks in particular, in this district and in the state of Florida, have raised concerns about Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz's decision to run in this district. And I'm not there to invalidate that. And I think that certainly the Congresswoman has to take into account all of the folks that have been speaking.
Leave it up to a lying-ass white woman. These are the Democrats that Malcolm X is talking about. This white woman can very well run in several other districts. But she would have to fight in those other districts. She don't want to do that. And she don't want to displace the other white people running in those districts. So what does she do? She move in on the one and only safe black district who would have black representation. And then her ass gets up on mainstream news media and lies and says that they pretty much encouraged her to do it. I went over to see if Hakeem Jeffries had said anything in regards, because she basically said he encouraged her. He hasn't specifically put out a post on any of his accounts. He hasn't specifically said anything in any interviews. He's given statements in regards to it, though. I think this guy is with Punchbowl News. When I had to go over to Twitter, y'all know I had to go to those funky, dirty streets and put in Debbie's name to see what was going on. And this guy came up. And he reached out to Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah, I think he's with Punchbowl News. And this is what he said. Jeffries won't say if he's backing Debbie Wasserman Schultz in Florida District 20. Quote, I haven't made a decision as it relates to that particular race. I think we all recognize the sensitivities of the moment in terms of an unprecedented Jim Crow-like assault on Black political representation. End quote. And Debbie, if you don't understand what it is that Hakeem Jeffries is saying, he ain't going to endorse you. He recognizes the seriousness of this moment and the lack of Black representation that will be in Congress because of what the Supreme Court did. Your white ass need to drop out of this race. Now, he ain't saying that. I'm interpreting that for you. Your white ass need to drop out of this race. Go run in one of those other districts. Jamie Dupree said this about what Hakeem Jeffries had to say about Debbie Wasserman Schultz trying to move in one of the safest Black districts in the state of Florida. Notable from House Dem leader Jeffries today. Jeffries not offering an endorsement for Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who filed to run in a Black majority district, Florida District 20. Jeffries said he's spoken to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, quote, I think we all recognize the sensitivities of the moment, end quote. In other words, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, that equates to saying, how fucking dare you? You see what is going on. You know Black representation will be diluted. Don't look for an endorsement from me. That's how I'm interpreting it. Y'all let me know if that's how y'all are interpreting what Hakeem Jeffries is saying. Hakeem Jeffries, I would really appreciate it if you stand firm and put out a statement and say that you will not be endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I would appreciate it if you stand firm and put out a statement and say, yes, I spoke with her, but I did not encourage her to run for that seat. I would appreciate that, Hakeem Jeffries. Anywho, another candidate running for that seat, Black man, I forget his name, starts with an E. This is what he had to say.
Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday. You know, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running in my race, and she got in this race and she said that the CBC was supporting her and encouraging her to run, and leader Hakeem Jeffries was supporting her and encouraging her to run. We all know that this is a majority Black congressional district, and it has been since 1992, created to give us a voice in Congress for the first time in 116 years since Reconstruction, and it has been held by the likes of Elsie Hastings and Sheila McCormick. Y'all do remember Debbie saying that the CBC was supporting her, right? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that?
No, none of them asked me not to run.
Hakeem Jeffries was supporting her? You remember when she said that?
I am very close with my CBC colleagues and obviously close with Leader Jeffries as a member of his leadership team.
But now we're learning that that is not the full story.
Did you personally encourage Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz to run in the 20th?
Just the other day, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Yvette Clark, came out and said that she did not encourage Debbie Wasserman Schultz to run for Congress, despite Debbie saying she did.
Well, let me say this. We had a conversation. Encouragement was not part of that conversation. I was essentially informed that Debbie wanted to run in this seat.
And just today, Leader Hakeem Jeffries came out today and said that he was not endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We have to make sure that we have our voice in Congress because Republicans are trying their hardest to take away our representation in Congress, and they are succeeding. Elijah Manley here, running for Congress in Florida's 20th district because I want to fight for you, and I want to make sure our voice in Congress matters.
Luther Campbell, also known as Luke Skywalker. Those are my peeps out there that are my age. We know him as Luke Skywalker. He's running for office. He's running for that seat. And I've seen a few videos of Luther Campbell basically if you know Luther Campbell, he been cussing Debbie Wasserman Schultz out. Okay? But here's a cleaned up version. He posted this to his Twitter account.
I can tell you one thing about me. I've created millionaires through my lifetime. I've created an industry called a hip hop industry in the South when it did not exist. I built parks. I did more things than Debbie has done in her 30 years since she's been in office since 1992. It's time to get rid of people like her. She's only running to protect her insider trading, in my opinion. I mean, that's what most people in Congress do. They leave the people out, hanging out to dry, to get on TV, and all they do is scream and holler. Meanwhile, everyday Americans are suffering at the pump, at the grocery store, and it's because of people like her. And she's attempting to divide this district and this body of the Democratic Party.
And let me ask you.
She has not one individual supporting her from the congressional.
That's the cleaned up version. All the other versions out there, yeah, they not clean. I will say this about Luther Campbell. I have been very impressed in how he is running this race. He is educated on the issues. He does have passion for the people. He does seem to care for the people. He does seem to want to make change in Congress for the people. I just can't get out of my head how I used to get down to Luther Campbell's music. I just can't get that out of my head. Anywho, it's not just those who are running for that seat that are calling out Debbie Wasserman Schultz. There are people, voters in the state of Texas that care about the Black community and the lack of representation that we will have in Congress that are calling out Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Messages for Debbie Wasserman Schultz from a lifelong Floridian. By now, I'm sure you've seen the mixed reactions to your announcement. You're switching from CD25 to CD20, a historically Black district, after your current district was split 5 ways because of DeSantis gerrymandering. Before I say anything else, I first want to acknowledge your decades of service in the Florida House and Senate and Congress. You used your position to deliver for South Floridians, and for that, I am deeply grateful. It's also exactly why your decision feels so disappointing. In your announcement video, you said, I'll continue to use my seniority in Washington to make Broward a safer, less expensive place to live, raise a family, and retire. We cannot let Trump and DeSantis take away Broward County's power. We'll come back to that. I genuinely want to believe that this move comes from being politically out of touch. I want to believe that you somehow didn't understand how insulting this would be, especially to Black voters and leaders. Congressional District 20 was created specifically to ensure Black voters in South Florida had the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choosing after decades of disenfranchisement and racial gerrymandering. And now, instead of stepping into this political moment as an ally, as a white Democrat with name recognition, donor networks, seniority, and institutional power and knowledge, you decided to enter this race. Florida's new voting map splits your former district 5 ways, and only a small portion of your former district falls within the new CD20. Yes, the other districts available to you right now would be hard fought, but aren't those the types of races that seniority, political influence, fundraising power, decades of experience are for? You've already brought in roughly $2.5 million in campaign contributions. Your seniority and resources actually help flip a seat or defend competitive ground. Instead, you chose CD20. 2020. This is the most Democratic district in Florida. Instead of taking on one of the harder fights, you picked the safest path to re-election in a solidly blue district, and in doing so, you inserted yourself in a race against grassroots Black candidates in the very district created to protect Black representation. And at a moment when Black communities are being disproportionately attacked on voting rights and reproductive care, maternal health, education, public safety, and economic stability, you made a move that some see as consolidating power for yourself instead of protecting it for the community that district was built to serve. And that brings me back to your statement, Representative. You said we cannot let Trump and DeSantis take away Broward County's power, but entering CD20 does take away power, Black political power, and it places what was supposed to belong to the Black community into your hands instead. Black leaders and groups from across the state have explicitly requested you seek candidacy in neighboring districts so they can ensure their community has leadership that reflects their lived experiences and needs. So respectfully, please reconsider. Use your decades of experience, fundraising ability, national relationships, and influence to help elect Democrats across Florida, to help protect vulnerable communities, to help build the next generation of leadership instead of displacing it. Pick a district where your presence and leadership would be a service to the community instead of a disservice. If you truly believe that you are here to serve the people, this is your moment. For everyone else who says both sides are the same, no, they are not. One side elected a 34-time convicted felon that demands absolute loyalty. The other side is willing to hold our own accountable when we believe they're...
Florida. Primary voting day is August 18th. Early voting starts August 8th and ends on the 15th. Go to the state of Florida voter registration website to find out the early voting locations. Okay? Voting day is August 18th. Early voting starts August 8th through to the 15th. Okay? All right. Do your research on the candidates. I made it clear to my mama, Debbie Wasserman Shultz is not a choice for her. Okay? I'm not going to tell y'all who to vote for, but I'm going to tell my mama who not to vote for. All right? All right. I'm done for today. I'll see y'all later.